There's always been the larger question for me watching Charmed about vanquishing, because it feels to me like vanquishing is actually just killing. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Turnout. I'm your host Eloy, and welcome to this kind of essay that I wrote up about kind of some of the ethical or moral arguments that can be done for vanquishing in the world of Charmed. In the Charmed reboot, we've actually gotten a little bit more in the way of kind of discussion about what vanquishing is, not only from the perspective of the Charmed ones, but also from the perspective of the demons. But I think before we start kind of discussing ethics and morals, I think we need to kind of define our terms and really be able to discuss this fully. So both ethics and morals are about rules surrounding the concepts of right and wrong. Ethics relates to the societal and other external forces that might dictate right and wrong, whereas morals are more about one's own personal principles regarding right and wrong. And this means that you can do something morally wrong, but ethically right, and vice versa. A few examples include Maggie's choice to marry Parker. She knows it's not the right thing to do for her personally, but it'll be good ethically for the world of witches and demons. On the other side of the coin, Marisol's use of necromancy, which is bad ethically, was acceptable to her since it saved her child Macy, which is good morally. Because we all know that there's nothing wrong with saving a child ever on a show. A large part of the basis of morals and ethics do kind of coincide with the 7 sins and virtues known throughout pop culture, and it's how a lot of us in the modern day identify with these concepts. The sins are greed, gluttony, wrath, sloth, envy, lust, and pride, whereas virtues are the opposites: chastity, temperance, charity, diligence, patience, kindness, and humility. In basic terms, doing good things means you're good and doing bad things means you're bad. But obviously everyone is a mix of all these things in various places on the spectrum between each thing. But when we're talking about ethics, we also then have to try and balance the different approaches that different philosophers took when they came up with these ideas. There's virtue ethics, which means as long as the act has a good intent, then it's ethically good. There's hedonism, which means the act is good as long as it maximizes pleasure and minimizes pain. There's stoicism, which says acts that create peace and calm are the most ethical. There's also utilitarianism, which says the end result is all that matters, like the ends justify the means. The list goes on because there's a lot of different ways to perceive the world. The other thing to consider that ethics and how they're applied is different culturally based on where a person is from, as well as their upbringing. The classic kind of nurture versus nature debate. But just consider a person who practices utilitarianism but was raised in hedonism. How would they look to a person who espouses virtue ethics with parents who taught them stoicism as well? My guess is that they'd look like a demon. And that brings me to my core quibble with Charmed. Vanquishing is murder. This is a big one, and it's likely gonna get some people's undies in a bunch, but hear me out here. In the world of Charmed, all magical power comes from the all, or the source of all, and it's up to the user on how they utilize that power. Witches are beings of good and nature and all that spiritual junk, and use their magic for good, except for the ones that don't, and use it for personal gain, revenge, and other evil motivations instead. Demons, on the other hand, never feel any emotions and are motivated only by evil, except when they do feel emotions and do things that aren't evil. Even with monstrous demons, we learn with Mel, while she's under the influence of a potion, can be appealed to if you observe their customs. But that's kind of the thing. The world of Charmed is reduced to good versus evil, but the idea of good guys and bad guys is largely antiquated. It doesn't really apply anymore, especially in the Charmed reboot, who tries to have its cake and eat it too, or eat its cake and have it too. I've heard it both ways. In either case, cake is good. What was I talking about again? Oh yeah, Charmed is continuing to try and push the good versus evil idea, but is also introducing more gray area, but not fully addressing it. Before I get into some examples, I'm going to say first off, I'm not going to discuss anybody who is not 100% witch or demon, so I'm not going to bring up Cole or Paige or Parker or Abigail, because of course the first thing anybody in the comments is going to say,
"Oh, but they're mixed. Obviously, Abigail could do good things because of her witch side.
Parker could do good things because he's not fully a demon."
And that's kind of true, but it's also kind of false. So the two characters that I'm actually going to look at here from the Charmed reboot are Celeste, an elder witch, and Godric, the lieutenant to the demon overlord. Starting with Celeste, she's actually one of the architects of the whole witch versus demon philosophy and much of what the world of witches looks like today. She created White Lighters, yes, we'll get into that in another video, but looking back on her acts, even she sees that she made some ethical mistakes along the way. She has a very utilitarian look on the world, and using that theory, she would be shielded ethically. The ends, which is the safety of witches, justifies the means, ripping souls apart and creating a terrible hierarchy of magic that colors some as good and others as bad. However, under virtue ethics, her intention is not based on good, it's based on fear, and thus wouldn't qualify as ethical. Much of what the Witches' Council and the Elders built was to put up walls, and those walls crumbled in Season 2 of the Charmed reboot, revealing the cracks that had started a long time ago. Turning to Godric, he's an interesting case. He's a leader amongst his people, who he wants to protect from witches. He's also proud to be a demon and encourages the demon-witch war, so his people won't continue to be hunted and oppressed. He sought out the demon overlord to serve, and proved to be quite loyal to Abigail as long as the choices made helped demonkind.
Since the death of Zagon over a millennium ago, we have been at each other's throats. Primordials killing carnals, malignants killing vagrants. And for what? Our division ends now.
He belongs to an upper-level demon clan, giving him power and privilege, and he uses it less to promote himself, but all demons. Godric, in my mind, is akin to Varys in Game of Thrones, willing to do ethically questionable things for the good of his people. And I wouldn't say that Varys was evil by any stretch. So we have a witch that's supposed to be good, but constructs a world full of systemic oppression, torture, subservience, and hunting other beings. And we have a demon who's supposed to be evil, but proves his loyalty and fights for his people. So why is one good and the other evil? I know some of you are already shouting it at me, and let's go ahead and say it out loud, because demons don't have souls. Or so the show would tell you. But I kinda have a bone to pick with that point too. The definition of a soul is the spiritual or immaterial part of a human being or animal regarded as immortal. And someone who is soulless is someone who is lacking or suggesting the lack of human feelings and qualities. But the majority of the demons who we meet, who are on par with human level intelligence, they show a range of emotions. We can take a look back at the big bad of Season 1, Alastor Caine.
I'm Alastor Caine, charmed, I'm sure.
He obviously favors his oldest son. One might even say that he loves him. Way more than he loves Parker or even Abigail, who he sent away. And now that I think of it, Caine really kind of gets around. He's got 3 kids from 3 different species. He has Hunter with another demon, he has Parker with a human, and he has Abigail with a witch. Wow, I can't wait for more of Caine's kids to pop up.
Hey, I'm half White Lighter.
Hey, I'm half unicorn.
I'm half leprechaun.
But honestly, throughout history, there have been a number of people characterized as without a soul, as an effort to make it ethically okay for people to remove that individual from the mortal coil. Witches is the biggest example that comes to mind, ironically, but First Nation people were branded as savages by European colonizers. Redheads are linked to Vikings who were branded as soulless since they raided cities and church coffers. Left-handed people were thought to be inferior in old Jewish texts. Almost every culture has someone who they see as the other, the bad thing that you don't want to be, and sometimes that thing is totally okay to, kill. And they try to put a fancy word on it. Vanquish is a word that they use anytime that they kill a magical being on the show. And if a human dies or if a witch dies, then it's kill. It's vanquish versus kill. But vanquishing is killing. Hunting is a term used when humans kill animals who are thought to be lower on the food chain. Sacrificing is a term of murdering someone as part of a ritual. Smiting someone is to hit them until they die, but was a word used during the Crusades in place of kill. But in the end, killing is killing. You can call it vanquishing and take a little bit of the sting off of the murder that you're committing. And I think it helps the viewer feel okay with what's happening.
Well, they had to vanquish the demon. It has no soul, so it's okay.
And obviously, in some cases, the Charmed Ones were justified in what they did. They were fighting in self-defense or to protect another. But there are other times when they go after the demons because they're demons. They have an inherent distrust and hatred for demons. So much so that witch equals good and demon equals bad, regardless of circumstances. They'll even sometimes forget that Macy is part demon and trust her implicitly, and forget that Abigail is part witch and continue to distrust her motives regardless of the fact that she's overall very helpful to them. Abigail even brings this up in an episode.
Daughter of Alastor Caine, half-sister to Hunter Caine, both of whom your family murdered.
Do you know how many innocent witches he and she killed?
Probably no more than the innocent demons your people killed. All hunters are heroes until the lioness tells her side of the story.
Telling the Charmed Ones, from our point of view, you're murderers. And that makes them think really long and hard about their role in the world for about a minute. But why do they believe that it's okay to vanquish demons? Because the elders say it? The Book of Shadows says it? They've been told that it's their duty. They've been told that it's totally okay because the demon doesn't have a soul, even though it is literally just killing another being.
You really care for him, don't you? You came up with that all on your own? Where is that in the Book of Elders? Page 2003, paragraph 14. Demon Overlord has feelings.
Framing can do a lot for ethics and morals in any situation, because it's all based on what is valued in that culture. As I said before, we're even later shown that you can even reason with a Kion Queen. Seeing this giant demonic beast in front of you, yeah, you're gonna go to your instinct and vanquish the hell out of that thing. But Mel steps up and shows that all you needed to do was to know about this creature and how it responds. By bowing to it, it'll know that you're not a threat. It'll know that you're showing reverence to it and will move on. It's either a trick, like when you pretend to be dead if there's a bear nearby, or it's a marker of a high level of cognizance, but the show introduces that idea and then throws it away the second that the Charmed Ones are in danger again. There is no reasoning with anything, everything must be vanquished. Bringing this all around, the Charmed Ones are undoubtedly powerful, and they believe that they're fighting for good, for the continuation of magic, and for all witches. And in their world where good and evil are absolutes, they are actually ethically and morally justified and correct. But remember that their culture is a microcosm within our own modern sensibilities. And by that ethical standard, the Charmed Ones have no ethics. They are killers. Weapons created by the elders and set upon their enemies without giving it a second thought. And how can the show improve from this? Well, first off, let's not throw away these ideas of a gray area between good and evil. There's a whole lot of moral relativism that has been floating around the show, but everybody seems to ignore it. What we need to do is we need to acknowledge that witches are not always good and demons are not always evil, and let's expound upon that. I hope that that's something that happens going into season 3 of Charmed. What you guys think of this kind of video essay that I had here? Let me know about it down in the comments. Also, don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification so you always know when the Turnout puts out a brand new video. Otherwise, I've been your host, Eloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for showing up.